Two people, same net worth, $4 million each. One wakes up at 5:47 a.m. because his phone is already ringing. A client problem, a deal under pressure. He will not stop working until 11 p.m. He has not taken a vacation in 3 years. His accountant tells him he is doing well. He does not feel like he is doing well. The other wakes up without an alarm. She reads for an hour before her family is awake. Her portfolio generates more than her expenses every month. She has not had a financial emergency in 6 years. She thinks about money approximately once a week. Same number, completely different lives. The number was never the whole story. It never is. What determines how wealth actually feels, how it functions, what it allows and what it costs, is not the size of the account. It is the kind of rich you are. There are 7 kinds. Most people never learn to tell them apart. Kind 1. Income rich. The money comes in fast. It also goes out fast. This person earns significantly above average. A surgeon, a senior attorney, a high-performing salesperson. The annual income is real and large, but the wealth is not. Because income rich is not the same as wealthy. It is a condition of high flow, not high accumulation. The lifestyle expands to meet the earnings. The house, the cars, the private schools, the travel. Each expense felt justified at the time of purchase because the income supported it. But income is linear. It requires continued performance. The moment the performance stops, the income stops. And the lifestyle does not stop easily. Income-rich people often feel wealthy. Their spending confirms the feeling. But underneath it, the structure is fragile. One serious illness, one industry collapse, one bad year, and the entire equation reverses faster than anyone expected. They have money, they do not have wealth. The difference is that wealth survives your absence. Income does not. Kind 2. Asset rich. The net worth is real, the cash is not. This is the person who owns property, a business, land, equity, and something illiquid. On paper, the number is significant. In practice, accessing it requires selling something, and selling something takes time, costs money, and sometimes cannot happen at the moment it needs to. The farmer who owns 400 acres. The small business owner whose company is worth $3 million but generates inconsistent distributions. The real estate investor whose portfolio looks impressive on a spreadsheet and produces a cash flow problem every other quarter. Asset rich is a legitimate form of wealth, but it creates a specific kind of pressure that purely liquid wealth does not. You cannot pay a medical bill with an asset. You cannot cover a salary shortfall with property you cannot sell in 30 days. The number exists. The flexibility does not always exist with it. Asset-rich people often feel the weight of their wealth more than the freedom of it. The assets require management, maintenance, attention. Wealth that demands constant care is a different experience from wealth that quietly compounds. Kind 3. Liquidity rich. The cash is there, accessible, sitting in accounts that can be moved within hours. This person is not necessarily the wealthiest in the room, but they are the most flexible. When an opportunity appears, they can move. When a crisis arrives, they can absorb it. When everyone else is forced to sell, they can buy. Liquidity is the form of wealth that most people undervalue until the moment they need it. During stable periods, it feels like inefficiency. The money is not working hard enough. The returns are lower than they would be in less liquid assets. It looks from the outside like caution bordering on waste. But in the moments that matter, liquidity is power. The ability to act without asking permission from a lender, without waiting for a buyer, without negotiating terms under pressure. That ability has a value that does not appear on a net worth statement and cannot be calculated until you need it. Kind 4. Inherited rich. The wealth arrived before the person understood what wealth was. This is the most misread category from the outside and often the most complicated from the inside. The assumption is that inherited wealth means ease. Sometimes it does. Often the reality is more layered than that. Inherited wealth can arrive with expectations attached, family structures, trusts with conditions, businesses that must be maintained, reputations that must be upheld. The freedom that wealth is supposed to represent is sometimes constrained by the terms under which it was received. There is also the question of identity. What does ambition mean when the financial outcome is already secured? What does work mean when its necessity has been removed? Some people who inherit wealth build something significant on top of it. Others spend decades navigating a relationship with money they did not construct and do not fully understand. The number is real. The foundation underneath it was built by someone else, and living on someone else's foundation requires a different kind of psychological work than building your own. Kind 5. Earned and held. This is the person who built it and kept it. Not through a single event, not through inheritance. Through years of income, discipline, compounding, and consistent decisions made in the right direction. The wealth is entirely self-constructed. Every dollar in the account has a history the person can trace. This kind of rich produces a specific confidence that other categories do not. The person knows they built it once. If they had to, they could build it again. That knowledge changes how risk feels. It changes how loss feels. It changes how they move through the world. But earned and held also carries a specific weight. The discipline that built the wealth rarely disappears after the wealth arrives. These people often continue living well below their means, long after there is any financial reason to. They track spending that no longer needs tracking. They feel discomfort at expenses that their portfolio could absorb without consequence. The habits that create wealth are not always the habits that allow you to enjoy it. And for many people in this category, learning to use what they built is harder than building it was. Kind 6. Quietly rich. The number is significant. Nobody knows. This is the neighbor in the modest house who has held index funds for 30 years. The retired teacher whose discipline produced a portfolio that would surprise everyone who knows her. The small business owner who never expanded, never hired aggressively, never appeared ambitious, and quietly accumulated more than anyone in his social circle. Quietly rich is a deliberate condition. These people made choices that prioritized accumulation over appearance. They did not signal wealth because signaling wealth was never the objective. The objective was security, freedom, optionality. They live without the social complexity that visible wealth creates. Nobody approaches them with investment pitches. Nobody adjusts their behavior around perceived access. Relationships remain closer to neutral because the financial imbalance is invisible. Quietly rich is arguably the most peaceful version of wealth. It costs the least in terms of attention, management, and social friction. Most people who achieve it arrive there by accident. They were simply living correctly for long enough. Kind 7. Structurally rich. The wealth is no longer personal. It is institutional. This is the level where money stops sitting in accounts and starts existing inside entities. Trusts, holding companies, family offices, structures designed to persist beyond the individual who created them. The person's name is attached to the wealth, but the wealth has taken on a life that extends past any single lifetime. Structurally rich is not just about size. It is about architecture. The decisions made at this level are not about returns. They are about continuity. How does the capital survive generational transition? How does it maintain its influence across decades? What structures ensure that what was built does not dissolve when the builder is gone? This is the level where wealth becomes something closer to an institution than a personal asset. And with that comes a different relationship to the money entirely. It is no longer something you use. It is something you steward, something you are responsible for in ways that extend past your own interests. The freedom that everyone below this level imagines wealth provides is, at this level, replaced by obligation, not to a job, not to a salary, to the structure itself. Two people, same net worth, $4 million each. One is income rich, spending at the ceiling of what his earnings support, one bad year from a crisis he cannot see coming. The other is quietly rich, holding assets that compound while she sleeps, with no one to impress and nothing to prove. The number is identical. The lives are not comparable. Most people spend their entire working lives focused on growing the number. Very few ask what kind of number they are building, whether it is liquid or locked, whether it is self-constructed or inherited, whether it is visible or quiet, whether it is personal or structural. Those questions determine not just how wealthy you become, they determine what that wealth actually does to your life once it arrives. The number is the beginning of the question, not the answer.